Hi there! These are the 4 easy cards that I'll show you how to make today. And along the way, I will share a few accidental ideas, a few accidental designs that also came up with the leftovers or failed attempts. So these are all very easy to make. I don't own any triangular shaped dies or stamps, so anyone can recreate these. For the first one, we're going to need a card base and a card panel, and also a few more pieces of cardstock. Everything else that you see here on the screen is scraps. So I have a very long white scrap, a smaller green one, and gold mirror cardstock. Now I'm getting this scrap that I want to use on the inside, and I am measuring it, centering it on my front panel, and I'm just gonna trace it. I'll try to link it on the information. I've showed on another video how to create a pop-up card before using a die, but this one I am just gonna cut it with a craft knife. So I'm tracing the line where I want to cut it. I always trace it on the back, on what's going to be the back of the panel, so I don't have to erase it afterwards. I'm going to use a metal ruler and I'm going to cut along those 3 lines. The top line, I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to fold it. This is a very easy option to create. You just need some extra cardstock, but I think it's absolutely worth the extra work. I love interactive designs, in case you haven't noticed it. I think they bring something else, something special, and they always stand out from your store-bought cards as well. Everything I'm going to show you here today is very quick and easy to create or recreate. Now I'm finding the center point of the rectangular that I cut. I'm going to trace a line along the center point, and I'm going to trace another line around the edge, kind of an 1/8 of an inch, I would say, this one that I'm doing now. I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody who signed up in the past week or so. You're all most welcome here, and I'm very, very happy to have you. Just in case you don't know it yet, my name is Tachi. I am from Brazil, and that's why sometimes I say things wrong and I say weird stuff. just assume that's why, okay? I'm very happy to have you all here. Okay, I'm folding all those lines, and this is what we want it to look like. And now I'm gonna get another scrap. I'm gonna measure it slightly wider than the tab that we just cut, those 3 sides. And I'm gonna just mark it with a pencil mark, get my paper trimmer, line up the pencil mark along the cutting edge, and trim it down. And this should be perfect. Now I'm gonna turn my interactive panel around, the one that we cut, and I'm gonna add some adhesive to the very bottom of the tab that we just cut. I'm using very strong double-sided adhesive. If you want to use glue, regular glue, just make sure that it's dry before you move it. So give it some time, but it will work as well. We're gonna line up that cardstock that we just cut, and we want a little bit of excess on each side, on left and right of that tab. And then we just wanted to line up along the edge perfectly, but the sides we need a little bit longer on the left and a little bit longer on the right. You can see here my weird way to do it. And this will be our mechanism, our pull-up mechanism. I'm folding a card base now, and I'm gonna line it up with my mechanism. I'm gonna pull the tab a little bit, and I'm just gonna mark where the edge of my frame is, so I can stamp my sentiment on the inside, and I know exactly where to stamp the I'll be able to see it when it opens. I'm just using a stamp that I bought recently. It says Happy Christmas in Portuguese, and it's shaped like a tree as well, like a triangle. I'm stamping it just above that line, And I know it will be centered, it will be hidden when it's closed, but it will be visible when I open it. Now I'm gonna erase that line that I traced with my pencil, and that's it. I can glue it together. I'm just gonna add some dimension to all three sides along that tab. I don't want my dimensional adhesive to be way too close to the tab because I want it to move freely, but then we can just remove the backing paper and put it down. You might have noticed that I actually doubled down on the backing paper. That will prevent the adhesive from sticking to my scissors. I love that. So every time I use double-sided adhesive, I save the backing paper when it's not cut to small pieces, and I reuse it when I have to cut it like this and trim it narrower or smaller. So I'm putting all along the three sides. I'm gonna place it in my stamping tool just so it's easier to line up. I'm gonna turn it upside down actually because the side that has the longer tab, I can't line it up properly. And then I'm just gonna press it down and it's all done. Now we're gonna decorate it very easily. I have a scrap of green cardstock that is slightly smaller than my tab. I'm gonna mark the height, the maximum height. That is where the fold line is. And then I'm gonna trim it down, but I'm gonna trim it down smaller than this. So where the line is, I'm gonna cut it shorter. I'm gonna trim down like an eighth or a fourth on the side because I want my tree, this is gonna be a tree, spoiler alert, I want it to be also narrower than my panel. I just found that middle point of the width of the rectangle. I marked it. And now I'm gonna cut along that. Just line up that center point that you marked with the corner, bottom corner, and cut it. And then turn it around, do the same thing on the other side, and you have a perfect triangle. Now here, I'm gonna create a dimensional element. You don't need to use it if you don't want to. This is optional. I will have the measurements here on the screen for you. And this is a Jennifer Maguire idea, and it will make that tree pop up even more, but without giving extra bulk to my card. This is how you should fold it. It should look like this. I'm gonna glue it to the back of my tree. And now I'm gonna decorate the tree because I forgot to do it before the pop-up element, of course. In case I haven't mentioned it before, I have ADHD. I get easily distracted and I forget things all the time. That's why I can be quite disorganized when I'm explaining how I got my stuff done. Okay, now I am measuring that panel from before, and I'm gonna just mark with a pencil where I need to cut it along the fold line once again. I'm gonna trim it down, and I measured it above that tiny slim fold line from our mechanism because I'm gonna glue above that. And I'm gonna run this through my die cutting machine with a detailed plate, but you could use anything that you want to add more interest to your background. It could be stamp set, it could be a stamp set with shapes or drawings or like writing, anything you want. I just wanted to add a little bit of detail because it's all white so far, and I wanted to look a bit more interesting. Now I'm adding glue between those two score lines that I have on my mechanism, the very slim one and the center one. That's all that I'm gonna add glue to. If you do add glue to the top, your element is not gonna pop up when you move it. I'm gonna put some weights, let it dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna trim down some very thin strips of gold mirror cardstock. I'm gonna cut a few of them, and that's what I'm gonna use to decorate our tree. I'm just gonna add some glue to the back of my thin strips, and I'm gonna line them up kind of diagonally, going up and down, both directions from left and right. And that's all I'm gonna do for now, but later I'm gonna add some red dots. Remember that these red dots, like I showed on my previous video, you can just cut them with your paper punchers. And if you have a die that die cuts loads of them, use it, make your life easier because it's way quicker. And that's gonna be the whole tree. Someone asked on my previous video about these containers. They are the lids for these acrylic containers that I bought to store my Copic markers. And I don't use the lids because I can't. So I'm using them to store small die cuts. You might find something similar on Amazon or any stores near you. Now I'm just gonna add some glue to the tabs behind that pop-up mechanism. Let's say that we actually have two pop-up mechanisms on this card. It's a bit redundant, isn't it? And I'm gonna add a confetti star to the top of my tree. That's the final decoration. As you can see, I've used nothing in this card that requires specific products, so it should be very easy for you to recreate it at home, and it looks extra special. Here's another option. If you want to add another sentiment to the front, you could just get a strip of paper. You could write it yourself, or if you have a thin stamp, you could stamp it. You can measure it kind of around your tree where you want it to go around your tree. Fold that sentiment, fold it back again on itself, trim the excess, and then we can cut kind of V shapes along the edges, and that will make it look like a banner. And it would also be dimensional again without adding any bulk. You could just glue it down anywhere you want around your tree, and you will have a hidden sentiment on the inside. Remember that you can also hide like a gift card in there, and another sentiment at the front. For a second one, I just need to warn you that I can't draw or paint anything even to save my life. I'm not exaggerating. I also didn't bring the supplies I needed to make this card properly, so this is what I'm gonna use. So I have a kind of black or dark gray brush pen, two blues, two shades of blue, two shades of green, some water, and some watercolor paper. I'm spraying back and front of my paper. The front I'm spraying generously. I'm gonna add the turquoise color and spread it kind of to the top half, bring it down a little bit as it lightens, and then I'm gonna get a drop of that black or dark gray, and I'm gonna spread it with a brush. You can see I don't have the right brushes. These brushes that I'm using, they are for doing nail art. But I don't have the supplies, so I'm gonna do the best with whatever I have at hand. You can do the same at home. So I just want to have like a division between sky and earth, and I just wanted to break that white, stark white from my cardstock a little bit from my watercolor paper. Now I'm going to dry it with the heat gun, and I'm going to add some drops of the other colors to my acrylic block. I have the lighter green on top, the darker green on the bottom, and in the center I have my darker blue. I have a little bit of water as well. For this first layer, I am going to dilute the two greens. I'm going to start with the lightest and draw a triangle on both edges of my card, of my scene. And then I'm going to come back, dilute the darker one, and draw two more triangles. And I'm going to alternate between the two shades as I walk towards the center of my scene. I am not measuring anything. I'm trying to space them out a little, and it works in the end. I promise you, it works in the end. This is just our first layer. We will cover it up with the second layer. For the second layer, I'm not gonna dilute my colors. I'm gonna use them full strength. Sometimes you're gonna see me use straight from the brush pen, and that's gonna give me a little bit of difference in terms of colors. I will show you at the end what else I did as an exercise before. I turned it into a car as well, even though I didn't like it much, but this is what I chose. I'm gonna dry in between the layers to make sure that it's fully dry before I add more color so they don't bleed too much into one another. Now I'm using this full strength and I'm drawing slightly bigger triangles in between the ones that we did on the first layer. I hope that makes sense. But you can see here in the scene, that's all we're doing, folks. We're just drawing triangles. Remember, you can use your watercolors, any paints that you have that you like. They can be opaque, there's no problem. You can use your reinkers from your stamping inks. You can also use just pens, brush pens. You can use Copic markers instead of watercolors. You can use watercolor pencils, anything you want, anything you have in your stash and you feel comfortable with. Now for my very last tree, that will be my third layer, I am going to add a bit of that dark blue and I'm gonna draw it an even bigger tree in the center. Now I think that this scene is very basic, it's very simple, very easy to make, very quick, and you could use it as a season's greetings card. You could also use it as a winter card. And if you decorate those trees, if you add some decoration to them, then you could use it easily as a Christmas card. Where I am showing you some options that you could use to, like, for other circumstances and other situations in case you needed to. Also, because I'm not adding any sentiments to my cards. So all I did was trim that panel down. I mounted it onto a blue, slightly bigger, so I'll have a thin frame. I'm adding 3 die cut birds, but you could just draw them with a black marker. I just had them die cut already, so I decided to use them. And this is it. This is the whole card, folks. It's so easy to do. This is the one that went wrong. I'm still gonna use it. Now for the third one, we're also gonna have an interactive card, but I'll show you how I made those trees. So I just have some strips of green cardstock with different widths and 3 different shades. I am marking where I need my spacing, so every 3 1/4 inches. And then the top layer, I'm gonna trace first at 3/8 and then 3 1/4 inches after that. And then I'm gonna get my white gel pen and I'm gonna connect those dots and trace the lines. You see that we'll have perfect triangles. They are exactly the same size and they're very well spaced. If you start with a strip of paper that the cuts are parallel, you will have them exactly the same size. And I did that to all my 4 strips. I did the rest off screen. And it's very quick, very easy. Now I'm just gonna use the scissors to cut them down. Because I started with strips with different widths, they will have different shapes. So some of them will be taller, some will be wider, some will be skinnier. I'm sorting them out by shape and color. And then these are the panels that we're gonna need. We're gonna need some extra black cardstock as well. I am going to die cut a circle out of black, and this will be a spinning circle. I'll show you how to do the mechanism. I'm just gonna run it through my die cutting machine. I have kind of the sizes I used for you on the screen, but you can easily adapt this to any other size that you want. So with that circle in hand, I am going to start spacing out my trees, my triangles. And it took me just a second to realize that I could fit 4 of those different shapes and colors in each quarter of my circle. I'm gonna place them all down very quickly. Sorry for speeding it up, but you don't see me fits and butts with all of these. And then I'm just gonna add some glue to the back and put them down. Then I am going to show you how I did my mechanism. I did end up with way more triangles or trees than I needed, and I'll make some extra cards with them later and I'll show them to you. Now here on this square panel, This will be our front panel. I am just finding the center, and off camera I went through my stash and I found the circle double-sided adhesive, but you can use a button or a coin instead of them. And then I also found a circle die that was just slightly bigger than that double-sided adhesive that I'm gonna use. So you need a die that's gonna be bigger than your button or bigger than your coin. Now I'm gluing two white circles that are slightly bigger than my black circle. I'm just layering them up because I like things sturdy. You really don't need this. And I also want a white frame to that black circle to break the card because it's going to be all black. It's also going to tie in with the gel pen that I'm going to use to add details to my trees later. And I'm going to center my black circle and glue it on top of the white one. We are going to need an extra circle for the inside mechanism, and that circle has to be bigger than your double-sided adhesive, circle adhesive, or button or coin. And it has to be bigger than the hole that you're gonna die cut as well. I'm just taping it to the back so it doesn't move. I'm gonna glue my double-sided adhesive and then center my circle on top. Add some foam adhesive all around the back of the mechanism. I removed my tape already. I'm gonna add a little bit extra in the corners, remove that backing and add it to my card base. My card base, I'm just adding a white square on the inside so I can write it with any pen. It doesn't have to be specialty pens. Now I'm gonna put it all together and use my stamping platform once again to align it easily. Now I'm gonna add detail with a white gel pen and gold watercolor, but you can use just a gold pen. I couldn't find one. So I'm adding circle to my tallest trees, and I'm gonna add some vertical lines, vertical and diagonal lines to my wider tree. And then I'm gonna add some gold details to the lighter green ones. I believe it's just a confetti star, small confetti star to the top of the smallest trees, and some lines, diagonal lines to the remaining ones. And this is it. You can add a sentiment to the center and it's done. For our final card design, this is a very easy one. Please forgive the heavy rain noise in the background. I'm just scoring a card panel every 1/4 of an inch, actually every 1/2 an inch, sorry for that, both directions. And then I'm gonna glue those trees down evenly spaced all along my kind of grid pattern. Then I'm going to decorate them like I did before, the same decoration that I used on the previous card. I'm just not adding the stars. I'm gonna add a sentiment and call it done. This one is as quick and easy as it gets. I'm gonna trim the excess of those trees there past the edges of my panel, just lining up the panel along the cutting edge of my trimmer. Once you have a straight edge, you can just butt it right up and trim the rest. It's very quick and easy. You just need to make sure that if you use a gel pen or if you use watercolors, that you give it some time to dry before you trim it down. Because I had so many trees left, I made 2 extra cards that I'll show you at the end. I hope you are enjoying this card series. The next video will be a bunch of random projects and ideas. I hope you join me for that one. I hope you're enjoying like some quick and easy ideas with some interactive features along the way. Now, I kind of wish I had left a white border on this one, but I forgot to do it. So it was way too late. I'm just gonna add a gold sentiment with a white backing. And this is it. You could always add more to it. You could add some red dots to your trees if you want to, or get rid of the trees decorations altogether and make it a winter card and like make it your own. Here's the final result, and I added some trees on the inside as well of each one of them because I had too many. These ones, they just need a sentiment. And that's it. Happy crafting. See you soon. Bye.